I hope you put this community back to what it was, because that's what we deserve.
One man's excruciating choice to stay behind the fire lines to protect his home. On this Sunday night, the fight to stay ahead of the unrelenting flames in Southern California, as Canada and Mexico send support to the United States in the face of choice words from its president-elect.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best.
Canada should be a 51st state.
Political power play.
He's quite dangerous because he doesn't understand what he's talking about.
Why one of the world's wealthiest men is whipping up the far right in Europe. Plus, the Alberta Premier's Florida foray. Danielle Smith takes an impromptu trip to Mar-a-Lago.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Sarah McDonald.
Another night of water bombings in Southern California as firefighters continue to battle multiple catastrophic wildfires in and around Los Angeles. Progress is being made with smaller fires in the region now mostly contained, but an uphill battle remains against the massive Palisades and Eaton fires, which have already destroyed entire communities. Good evening and thanks for joining us. On top of that destruction, at least 16 people are now confirmed casualties of the raging wildfires devastating Southern California. And officials say the threat has far from passed, with strong winds and gusts of up to 112 kilometers an hour in the forecast for the coming days.
Tomorrow, winds will be picking up, as you heard, further, complicating our efforts and creating an additional fire danger. And so the atmosphere is very continuously changing. We have to adapt to the conditions that are presented to us.
Thousands of homes and livelihoods are already in ruins because of the fires. Houses reduced to ash is an all too common sight in Altadena, a middle-class neighborhood not as wealthy as the Palisades and also now unrecognizable. Our Neetu Garcha is on the ground there tonight. Neetu.
Sarah, we are in the Altadena area of Los Angeles, which has been hard hit by the Eaton fire. Here behind me, you can see entire rows of homes that have been reduced to rubble. But this home over here is still standing because of the efforts of one man who never left this house. He described to us the harrowing account of fighting off a wall of flames with a garden hose.
And as you could see, this fence caught on fire.
Defying evacuation warnings, Felipe Carrillo made a dangerous and desperate attempt to try and save his home and that of a few neighbors in Altadena.
So the flames were coming this way. See? So maybe that's how I got burned, because I was sitting here like this.
After a few hours, he says the water stopped, so he turned to his pool and some dirt to put out hot spots while embers rained down from the sky.
I had my truck right at the end of the driveway. I had the keys were right ready to go. Worst comes to worst, jump in it. I can go right, left. I had my escape route.
The husband and father of two says he didn't see firefighters until the next day.
When you're in the moment, you don't think about it. Initially, my goal was to wet the house and leave. I knew if I left, there would be nothing standing. So I couldn't live with myself or live with the fact that at least I didn't try.
He works for Highway Patrol. His wife is an elementary school teacher. They've lived here since 2009.
We put our life savings into this house. We have two great children.
Can you, put food out for them now?
He says this phone call from his daughter serves as a reminder of the kind of cherished belongings he risked it all for, like her bird feeder.
My daughter made this.
She made this. My 10-year-old made this.
And his son's baseball all-star sign.
I saw it on fire and I wet it and I pulled it out of the grass and I threw it right here with the rest of the stuff.
The community struggle has been compounded by a critical issue, water. The New York Times reports power shutoffs intended to prevent new ignitions inadvertently knocked out the pumps firefighters rely on.
We're not a third world country. We're America. And you're telling me in America we don't have water? There's something wrong here.
The LA County water system is ready and it will be prepared to assist us in fighting a wildland fire.
The death toll in the Altadena area from the Eaton wildfire has continued to climb as search efforts are ongoing.
We searched approximately 364 properties in the Altadena area, and unfortunately during that search, We did locate 3 deceased.
Would you call this a second-degree burn?
While firefighters expressed gratitude for his actions,
well, we're going to do whatever we can. We'll keep checking on you.
they reinforced the reality of the risks Carrillo took. They're urging everyone to heed the warnings from officials to evacuate when told to do so.
Has it hit you that you may not have survived this fight?
No, I could have died here.
A curfew remains in place, and officials are working to determine the cause of these fires. Everyone here is on edge going into this coming week with more wind gusts in the forecast. The firefight is expected to get even more intense in the days to come. Sarah?
Neetu Garcha in Altadena, California. Thank you, Neetu. It is still impossible to know the full scope of the tragedy in Los Angeles, but as we have reported, 16 deaths have so far been confirmed in the city's worst disaster since the Northridge earthquake of 1994. Tonight, we're beginning to learn more about those who died. 83-year-old Rodney Nickerson and 66-year-old Victor Shaw were trying to protect their homes when flames from the Eaton fire surrounded them. Former child star Rory Sykes, who was born blind and with cerebral palsy, also died in Malibu as his mother was trying to reach him.
He was my baby, and he died needlessly. Guess what didn't work? 911. All the phone lines were down. No mum can leave the kid. And I've got a broken arm. I couldn't lift him. I couldn't move him.
Fire officials say most of the victims died because they did not or could not heed evacuation orders until it was too late. They say good fences make good neighbors, and the same is true for diplomatic relations. When it comes to the United States and its neighbors to the north and south, the incoming president has complicated that, taking aim at countries on both sides with talks of tariffs and takeovers. Now, both Canada and Mexico are playing key roles in fighting the growing inferno in Los Angeles. Nathaniel Dove reports on the goodwill and the powerful message it is sending to Donald Trump.
The California wildfires still rage, fueled by Santa Ana winds that make firefighting even more challenging. Wayne Colson's BC-based company contracts helicopters to California firefighters. He says they may have to wait it out.
If we can't fly, then you just have to get people the heck out of the way, because there's nothing you're going to be able to stop that fire with.
Every available LAFD firefighter is on hand and will remain in place through this wind event. Additionally, firefighters continue to pour into Southern California region.
That help coming from other states and other countries.
This is what friends do. This is what relationships are all about. Friends in need, being there for one another.
California's governor on hand to welcome Mexican firefighters.
The United States was there for us, and now in their time of need, we're going to be there for California wildfire.
BC's forest minister announcing more Canadians would join crews already on the ground. And Quebec is sending 2 more water bombers, in addition to the 2 already under contract, including one that's being repaired after colliding with a drone.
This is probably one of the only vehicles in the aerial firefighting scheme that can, in fact, pick up water from the Pacific Ocean and drop it on the fire.
This aviation expert estimates the 2 Made Canada craft can drop perhaps 800,000 liters in just hours, key as the fight continues.
So we're right back in the heat of the battle come later on this evening.
The cooperation, though, a counterpoint to political sparring. President-elect Donald Trump has attacked Newsom over the state's response and threatened to put tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
When they have tornadoes and they have hurricanes, we have hundreds of Canadian hydro crews head down to the U.S., and we're there until the lights come on.
Graddick says current efforts are a reminder the U.S. and Canada are good neighbors. Nathaniel Dove, Global News, Toronto.
And Canada's top politicians have spent several weeks trying to convince Donald Trump not to put those tariffs on Canadian imports. That includes Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who visited the incoming president at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida this weekend. Here's Heather Yourex-West with what the pair discussed and whether Smith's last-ditch effort could have some sway.
At Donald Trump's Florida estate Saturday night and again Sunday morning, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says she pled her province's case, urging the incoming president not to impose tariffs on Alberta's energy exports because they support hundreds of thousands of American jobs.
She certainly has taken the approach that, being friendly with Trump is likely to help Alberta's cause, and so this is, I suppose, consistent with that.
Calling her conversations with Trump constructive, it's unclear if her messaging will have any impact. Trump told a news conference last week that the U.S. doesn't need anything from Canada, even though the Americans import 4.4 million barrels of Canadian oil every day.
Prime Minister Trudeau, it's great to see you.
But as Alberta's Premier dangles carrots, the Prime Minister again talked sticks in an interview that aired Sunday on MSNBC.
As we did last time, we are ready to respond with tariffs as necessary. We are the #1 export partner of about 35 different U.S. states, and anything that thickens the border between us ends up costing American citizens.
Though realistically, the Trump tariffs will hit the Canadian economy hardest of all, likely to result in a rise in the country's national inflation rate and a cut to economic growth.
It could very likely result in job losses as a way to try and recover some of that money that's going missing, or it could even result in the business disappearing entirely, whether that's because they go bankrupt or because they decide to relocate to the U.S. to avoid the tariff in the first place.
Smith's office says the Premier will take questions about her meeting with Trump on Monday. She also plans to attend the U.S. president's inauguration next week. Sarah?
Heather Yourex-West in Calgary. Thank you, Heather. Canadian businessman Kevin O'Leary was also at Mar-a-Lago last night, notable because he's currently part of a bid to buy the U.S. rights to TikTok. Donald Trump has vowed to save the popular social media app, though the U.S. Supreme Court appears poised to ban it over security concerns connected to China and spying. The platform's parent company now has 1 week to sell it off to an American-based buyer. Labour Minister Stephen McKinnon has become the latest Liberal to withdraw his name from the leadership race. In a social media post today, McKinnon says, "Unfortunately, the time available does not allow me to mount the kind of campaign that I would want to run." But he says he will seek re-election, unlike Anita Anand, who announced yesterday that she would neither seek the leadership nor another term as MP. Searching for an end to a dangerous trend in Manitoba.
We're averaging a fire pretty much every second day.
Coming up, the crews working to quash all too frequent fires, terrorizing parts of Winnipeg. Stay with us. In Manitoba, a growing and grim trend shows no sign of slowing down. Every year, more and more fires are set in Winnipeg, destroying empty homes and leaving neighborhoods just bracing for the next one. 2024 set a new record for the city, and barely 2 weeks into this year, it's already looking even worse. Melissa Ridgen explains.
An all too familiar sight and sound in Winnipeg. Vacant buildings up in flames, terrorizing neighborhoods in the city's north end.
We're averaging a fire pretty much every second day, sometimes 2, 3, 4 a week.
The aftermath, a blight and a heavy toll.
When we have multiple crews committed to one of these fires, we have gaps in our response, and it takes us longer to get to the next incident, unfortunately.
Winnipeg had a record 156 vacant building fires in 2023, the vast majority intentionally or accidentally set by people who break in. It got worse in 2024, more than 200 fires.
If we go back a decade, we would see one a month. So we've increased approximately 20 times in the last 10 years.
And 2025 is off to an even worse start.
We're not even 2 weeks into 2025. We're averaging 2 structure fires a day here in Winnipeg. Just in the last 36 hours, we've had 3 vacant buildings go up in flames.
This abandoned apartment building, the 3rd time it's been torched. This vacant church, the 4th time. There are rarely arrests in these fires, most chalked up as another symptom of the city's drug, mental health, and homelessness problem.
For a city of just about 850,000 people, we have 700 vacant and derelict properties right now. We've made it easier for property owners to demolish their building if they need their building demolished, so they can do it sooner, faster. But we also moved towards putting the full cost of a fire response onto the property owner.
A move that had little success. The city issued more than $1 million in firefighting fees to derelict property owners. Less than $80,000 has been paid. What is clear is the new year is going to require a new plan.
I've convened a table of community partners that include many of our city departments, but also nonprofit organizations, private sector individuals who are coming together to work on this problem and solve it together.
City residents hope before a terrible new record is set or someone loses a life. Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Winnipeg.
We've seen this playbook many times.
Ahead, one of the wealthiest and most polarizing people on the planet wades into politics in Europe. This is the terrifying aftermath of a tram crash in Strasbourg, France on Saturday. It injured more than 60 people. Local media says the collision was caused by one of the trams moving backwards at full speed into the other stationary tram. Authorities say the crash was not deliberate, but an investigation into exactly what happened has begun. It is widely known that Elon Musk has the ear of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, but what is less understood is the involvement of the world's richest person in European politics. Musk is also openly expressing support for far-right leaders in Europe. And as Vincent McAviney reports, it's motivating national leaders there to tell him to butt out.
You must vote for change. And that is why I'm really strongly recommending that people vote for AfD.
Elon Musk speaking on X to Alice Weidel, the leader of Germany's far-right Alternative for Deutschland party. The endorsement ahead of national elections is Musk's latest intervention into European politics. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is one of a number of exasperated leaders.
El hombre más rico del planeta.
The richest man on the planet openly attacks our institutions, incites hatred and openly supports the heirs of Nazism in Germany. Since 2015 began, Musk has attacked European leaders like the UK's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and France's President Emmanuel Macron on X dozens of times a day. Things have gotten so bad that the UK's security services are now having to monitor his posts, which regularly share inaccurate and misleading information from far-right groups and activists. There are fears this could lead to more riots, as witnessed last summer, over false claims about immigration.
We've seen this playbook many times, whipping up of intimidation and threats of violence, hoping that the media will amplify it.
Musk also threatened to donate 145 million Canadian dollars to the right-wing Reform Party, led by Nigel Farage, who spearheaded the Brexit movement, only to then turn on him, saying he didn't have what it takes to get rid of Starmer.
He's quite dangerous because he doesn't understand what he's talking about. He's doing things like calling on King Charles to dissolve Parliament, which can't happen. Germany's governed by coalition, and so again, he's going to tap into anger by intervening in the politics of countries where he doesn't understand the very basics.
European governments and the EU have spent months preparing themselves for the turmoil of a second Trump presidency. If, as planned, Elon Musk does now join the administration, his influence could create serious rifts in the transatlantic alliance. Vincent McAviney, Global News, London.
Next, marking a somber milestone in Haiti, 15 years since a catastrophic earthquake shook the country to its core. Today marks 15 years since one of the deadliest disasters of the 21st century. More than 250,000 people were killed in Haiti when a magnitude 7 earthquake knocked the country completely off kilter. In the mass exodus that followed, many found refuge in Canada and especially in Montreal. Here's Phil Carpenter.
15 years ago, Montrealer Marina Mathieu would likely not have been in the mood to sing because of what happened in Haiti.
And I was mad. I was mad at the world for what happened to my country.
She was one of thousands who fled that country following a magnitude 7 earthquake centered near the capital Port-au-Prince that killed upwards of 300,000 people, displaced more than 1 million, and destroyed most of the buildings. Mathieu managed to flee the country 10 days after from Montreal, along with family and thousands of others. She was 15.
I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be able to carry on the legacy of my people.
Though it's been more than a decade, the filmmaker notes that the tragedy's effects are still evident.
The main impact I see today, personally, in my surrounding, is the fragmentation of that population. As Haitians, we survive through migration.
This forced exodus caused by the earthquake, Mathieu stresses, was just one of many over generations. Years of fragmentation, she argues, creates instability.
How do you keep a culture alive? How do you keep a legacy alive?
Community workers in Montreal are also seeing the consequences of the mass migration caused by the 2010 earthquake.
For many, this displacement, it meant a lot for them, right? Yes, they were coming out of the situation, which was very traumatic, but they were also leaving behind a stability.
And without enough resources to support survivors when they arrived, many are still having trouble rebuilding their lives, workers point out, leading to poverty and dysfunctional families. Then there's a mental toll.
A lot of them are still very traumatized and are still unable to be in large crowds.
Others see a direct line between international involvement in earthquake relief and the current crisis in the country.
Because when the earthquake happened, the international decided a lot of things without asking the Haitian whatever, what do you want, what do you need?
Which some believe led to flawed aid and political assistance, contributing to Haiti's current problems.
2006.
Despite everything though, Mathieu insists things can change.
Let's build something to break this cycle.
She and others just want to return home to make it happen. Phil Carpenter, Global News, Montreal.
And that is Global National for the Sunday night. I'm Sarah McDonald. Tonight's Your Canada is Shoal Lake, Manitoba. Please keep emailing your photos to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching. Donna is back with you tomorrow. Have a great night.